think it's time to start now. Yeah. So let's start with some quick introductions, and let's catch up until we give enough time for the participants to join. Okay. So let me start the session. So first of all, thank you, Nehru, and thank you, Khalid Saab, for joining the session today, and thank you all participants for joining the session. So I welcome everyone to the show, a global strategy talk show. Okay, align project management to the strategy. It's a very important, very important topic today we are going to discuss. So before we start our discussion, I would like to give brief about this event series. So we at Data Labs India, from True Strategy, we are very happy to promote and sponsor the programs, Global Strategy Execution Series. We have summits, talk shows, and webinars. So the idea is to connect experts at the global level, okay, especially in the strategy management and related domains, to the business managers and the companies who need help, okay, who wants to know about the concepts, who wants to share their ideas, who want to learn, and who want to collaborate. Okay, so that's with that intention we started 1 year ago. Now we have almost done like 150 hour sessions total, so maybe more than that. So it is very interesting to learn from each one of the participants and the speakers and everyone. So I take this as a tremendous opportunity and to learn and also share what I learned. So thank you very much. So I would like to invite our guest speakers today, and then let me give you a quick introduction. Mr. Nehru Nagappan. Okay, just to give you a quick introduction. Thank you, Mr. Nehru, to join the session today. Nehru is a project management specialist with over 30 years of experience. As a director of membership of PMI Malaysia, he promotes project management best practices, and he is currently a chief success coach at Project Leadership Academy. He has led significant projects, including Malaysia's national budgeting system and many more. Okay, Nehru also managed major projects across Asia Pacific for the Walt Disney and other companies. His career began as a systems engineer, and he remains dedicated to advancing project management in the industry. So join me in welcoming Nehru Nagappan to the show. So thank you, Nehru Nagappan.
Sure.
So I would like to introduce Mr. Khalid Noor. He is a strategic financial leader with extensive experience in finance, HR, and also organizational development. Includes cultural transformation and corporate management. He has led key roles and key leadership roles in Novartis, Mactor International Limited, and Unilever. And Khalid's strengths include financial strategy, organizational and cultural transformation, leadership development, business acumen, and strategy planning at corporate level, business unit level, and also at the brand level. So welcome, Mr. Khalid, to the show. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
A quick introduction about myself. I'm Sheikh Abdul Khader, CEO of Data Labs India. So we are sponsor of this event, and also I'm moderating the show. Thank you very much. I have around 30 plus years of experience in strategy, supply chain management, manufacturing in various industries. I worked in Middle East, Africa, and India, and our customers include the Middle East, Africa, and India as well. And then we work very closely with international partners across the globe. So thank you very much, and let us take this as an opportunity to start the discussion. Okay, yeah. So quick introduction from your side, Nehru and Khalid. Please go ahead.
Okay, maybe I'll start it off first. Actually, Thank you for the introduction just now. Slight changes because, of course, we got to improve ourselves. I'm no longer in PMI. That was until last year. I've been with PMI, Project Management Institute, for almost like 6 years. PMI Malaysia chapter as the director of membership, and now I evolved into the global level. I'm also part of the advisor for PMO Global Institute as well. Yeah, that's at the global level. I'm also the master trainer on the PMO subjects. And of course, I've done a lot of projects. It's actually 36 years now. I'm just getting old nowadays. One of the biggest projects that I've done is actually for Disneyland in Hong Kong. I was there for about 10 years. Yeah, so that was one of the major projects. And I've done a lot of government projects as well in Malaysia and regionally. And yeah, now it's no longer managing project, but more into advisory, advising the government, advising the government-linked companies like Telecom and Petronas into effective ways of doing projects. I've coached almost like 45,000 people now into project management, making sure everybody, is like certified and, they are aware of the processes. Actually, today's topic is all about processes as well. And about processes, effective way of doing project. And one of what excited me about today's topic is based on my own experiences in mentoring a lot of organizations. And this is the area which is really lacking, which is really looking at project as a strategic initiative. But what we see is it's all about KPI driven, my budget driven, and deadline driven. But they don't look at how it impacts value and as a customer and overall strategy objective. So that's a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm looking forward for the session.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nehru. Thank you for joining the session today. Very interesting profile indeed. So I'm very happy to listen to you and learn. Over to you, Mr. Khalid.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalid. I'm based out of Karachi, Pakistan, and it's a pleasure to be joining Abdul Qadir Saab on this Global Strategy Talk platform. It's indeed providing a great opportunity for many people to learn about strategy. So my interest in the strategy goes back a long way. I started my career at Unilever Pakistan, where I closely worked with brand strategy, business category strategy, and business unit strategy, and also being the finance strategy. And later on, I became the CFO of Novartis Pharma, and it's a totally different industry and totally different way of doing business. So I learned the ropes of pharma industry. Also, I got the opportunity to work as head of HR. So after spending my lifetime in finance, because my background is chartered accountant and an MBA, but I think working with HR was the most fulfilling part of my career, where organization development, working on culture, and also HR strategy were very great learning. After retiring from Novartis, I joined a local pharma company called Mactor International, where again I got a flavor of working with local companies and their issues and challenges about capability, culture, systems, and processes. So it gave me an opportunity to help local organization upskill themselves. And currently, we've set up a consulting company called Univision Consulting, whereby my prior colleagues have joined. And we want to be a major strategy consulting company in Pakistan and also in the Middle East region. Thank you so much.
Fantastic to hear, Mr. Khalid. Thank you very much. I think it's a very interesting introduction. So let us start the subject today. Okay, so we all know that project management is very important. We all know that project management has evolved into a very decent profession. We all know that there are fantastic certifications involved in project management and all. One important thing always we miss sometimes, or most of the time, is, are we really selecting the right projects? Is the projects what we have selected, are adding real intended value to the organization in executing their strategies? Is that something an organization is selecting right projects instead of any pet projects for any senior leader or something? Okay, so and how these projects are aligned together as form of PMO or a portfolio or program? How this combination is adding value to the strategy of the organization? Okay, that's almost always a question to think for. Okay, so now let us start our discussion with a strategy formulation and how to identify right projects. Okay, so that's the idea. So Khalisa, would you like to start the topic? Okay, I have one slide for that. Okay, so so how do you think about strategy formulation process to be started as far as the organization is concerned?
Right. Just give me a second. Okay. First of all, I think there's a lot of literature on strategy. There's just too much, and there is a lot of confusion in the management and various professionals on the way strategy management has to be handled. And the issue is that strategy is not difficult. Strategy is something very, very core to any organization planning. And the other thing is that strategy practice used to be that it used to be done every 2 years or every 5 years, and we used to make 5-year plan or a 2-year plan. But the world has changed. The world is changing very, very fast. So currently, the best practice is to review strategy continuously based on what's happening. So the good practice of some companies is that they are doing strategic review every quarter. So what are the key elements of strategy? Strategy is all about making choices about the scope of work, scope of products and services that the organization is going to serve to the client. So it is about what products and services, which geography, which customer, which channel. So these are, you have to make these choices. And the second part is the how part, as to how you are going to be delivering these objectives of the organization. So for that, you need to understand what are the current business challenges that the company is facing, which are a hurdle in achieving those objectives that you have set. So once you have identified the key issues and challenges, then you see what capabilities do you have in the organization to deliver those objectives, and you arrive at gaps. What are the strategic gaps? And this gives rise to projects that you need to undertake to overcome these gaps, and these becomes projects in the organization.
Excellent. Perfect. So just let me just connect the dots. Maybe you explained it fantastic in a fantastic way. So let me share one slide. So if I am able to see this.
Yes, we can.
Just as Mr. Khalid said, so there are so many methodologies, best practices. So we don't want to get confused with that. So we'll talk about two frameworks today. One is primarily the balanced scorecard framework, which is the execution premium approach, what we call it. We just talk about it so that we can relate of any methodology or whatever. And then we connect to a strategy clockwise, which is promoted by Mr. Mihai recently. Okay, so I like that idea of combining the best practices and evolving a methodology. That's fine. So this the picture what we are seeing here is a 6-step methodology from execution premium. It's a very well accepted across the globe. So I take this as a reference. So if you see this, the stage 1 is the develop the strategy. Now the developed strategy itself has a lot of steps involved within that. So, but I'll just take as a black box, develop strategy. In the next, I'll just give some briefing on it. Okay. So now, once we develop the strategy, like in that strategy development, you talk about strategy analysis, strategy formulation, and strategy planning. Okay, I talk about that. Okay. Now, next step is to translate the strategy. Now, in this translation of the strategy, so you come up with the initiatives, which are projects, and also the portfolios, programs, whatever you call. So this is how you execute this strategy by translating it. First, to execute it, you need to translate it. So that's how the project translation take place. And then you align it, you execute your initiatives here, the projects again, you review, and then combine them. Okay. And these projects need funding as in the form of STATEX. So this is just a touch point, how it works. Okay. I just take a next level deep dive in that. So the strategy analysis, you do strategy analysis as Mr. Khalid has explained. You do the external and internal analysis, and then you come up with the strategic choices. Now, what are the things, what problems you want to solve, and what solutions you want to deliver? So you come up with some kind of list. Okay, what are the problems to be solved and what are the solutions to be delivered, and then you select on them what problems and how to solve them. Okay, so that is your strategy formulation. So the moment you select the right combination of strategic choices to add value to your organization, okay, that is a strategy formulation. So you position yourself, you create a strategic position, and also you do the strategy formulation. Okay. Now, once we do the strategy formulation, you need to know it will not be executed just like that. It needs some activity systems and also capabilities. Now, you identify those capabilities and activity system required, and what is your current position and what is the gap. Okay, so you come up with the gap. This gap closure is your strategy plan. As simple as that. Okay. Now, closing this gap is your strategy plan. It is. We should not get confused with strategy formulation, strategy analysis, strategy. No, just make sure you want to achieve something, and you need to have a strategy with the strategic choices, and then you come up with the gaps, what you have and what you need. Then closing them is your strategy plan. Now, this strategy plan has multiple steps how to do it. Okay, so that is something you come up with your strategic objectives. Okay, so this is where the step is. You come up with your strategy map, and then strategic objectives or goals, whatever you call. And then I'll just show one more slide here. This is, yeah. So if you want to achieve a proper result, so you have to deliver to something to customer, and then you need to do internally something. This objective or goal have a measure. This measure has a target based on your strategy plan. And then to close this performance gap, you identify strategic initiative. So that's how the cause and effect take place. So now, once all these strategic initiatives listed, okay, then you have your overall plan. Now, just I'll take one step back. Now, let us say you have a gap in your value. Okay. Let me take this one. You have a gap. Okay. For example, there is some gap, an X $million or whatever. Now, to close that gap, you need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this 1, 2, 3, 4 can be done either through form of operations or some kind of introduction of a new skill or something, or projects. Now, once we have the list of them to close, so you have a list of all the projects. Okay, so likewise, so if you see here the initiatives, so you have a list of initiatives to achieve your strategy. Okay, now once you have the list of initiatives in place, okay, now you can combine them into programs or portfolios based on your project management capabilities, and then execute them. Now, here, one of the most important point is you have to execute project in such a sequence that you deliver results to the strategy. You should not haphazardly do it. You should you sequence it properly, and then leave enterprise project management office or strategic project management office or whatever you call it, give it to them, but give them nice, decent inputs. So you can expect them that this is a project I need to close this kind of thing. Okay, so I think that's a very quick introduction. So I may talk about this slide little later. Okay, so I think that's the idea. So what do you think, Mr. Nehru, about it?
Mhm.
I think you've covered very well, Abdul
Very
Khair,
well.
sir,
Yeah.
in a very simple and a straightforward manner. And that's what strategy is, that you have to follow a certain discipline across the organization. You have to engage your top executive team, and as well as those people who are going to be executing the strategy. So the word that you have very properly used is the alignment. So first of all, the senior management is actually deciding on what are our key objectives, what are our winning aspiration, what are our key challenges, and then based on those aspirations, you decide what are the gaps that Sheikh Saab has just said. It is these gaps that the organization need to close to achieve those objectives. And that's where the project management office comes in, and also the budget allocation comes in, that these are the top 10 or top 5 or 6. Most organizations effectively work with 5 to 7 strategic projects, because otherwise it will be impossible for them to. But I've seen much bigger list in the project management office, like hundreds, and this is, I mean, nobody is able to track them. So the best practice is to use 5 to 7 key strategic projects, building the organization capability, and also these projects can overlap to more than 1 year. So you may not be able to complete all of them in 1 year. So they can straddle across to the next year. The key thing is in strategy execution is that you get the right people to lead those strategy projects. They must be capable, they must be well trained, but also the budget amount must be available to them. So in terms of key HR resources, key monetary resources. So this is critical, that and there are 5, if there are 5 to 7 strategic projects, then of course you need to prioritize them as to which projects is going to be making most impact. So sometimes we call low hanging fruits, for example. They are easy to implement and they have an impact. So these kind of and you need to continuously monitor how these projects are going on a quarterly basis, or even on a monthly basis, see if you're progressing. And that's where the balance scorecard comes in very handy, that you are able to track with the KPIs and OKRs. Sometimes they're used. But I really like the Kaplan's approach to strategy execution, Kaplan and Norton execution premium approach, because it brings in a lot of clarity across the organization. And one is able to do performance management based on the scorecards that is being used to monitor the progress.
Fantastic. So you touch very important point here. You identify the projects, first of all. That's where we're talking about now. So and then second most important thing is you select right project manager. So that's, I think, in my experience, if you have a right project manager for any project, and also you select a right project manager and empower him and support him. Okay, so this is the single most favor any senior leadership can do for the project. Okay. I have experienced this. If you put a wrong guy in a project, okay, then no matter what you do, that project will have problems. Okay, at the same time, you put a right guy and you don't support them from senior leadership, so you have a problem. Okay, now I think this is very, very important to have a right support for the project teams, and how we execute them, how we allow them to execute. That's very important, especially in the larger set of projects. Okay, so we talk more about the project management office part and all. Okay, so let us connect one more time. How this you have multiple projects in the organization. Okay, so how these projects are connected. So let's have a look at it, and then maybe then we talk about more details about the success stories of the projects, and then also the PMO establishment, and then the feedback mechanism, how we'll do it. So I have one slide, maybe I can share with that. So I'll just show. Okay, so if you are able to see the screen now,
Yes.
so I'll just try to compile all of them. Now, this is initiative management, this is a project management, basically. Okay. So this has inputs, like first of all, you have your strategic objectives and goals. Now, I just, you can use any methodology. It could be your balanced scorecard framework, or it could be OKR, or it could be Hoshin Kanri, or anything, whatever you want, or end value management or whatever. So you have your strategic projects. Now this is the input. And then you have a regular projects also, even if sometimes your client projects. Okay, so if it is a project-based organization, your client projects, some other projects includes like operational excellence projects, R&D projects, innovation projects, risk and compliances. You have to have them anyways. ESG, CapEx. Okay, so you need to have them. Now, all different kind of projects should be managed through a portfolio or programs through PMO. So once you do them, the PMO will supervise overall project management processes. So you get the benefit, like achieve strategy execution, realize the value with cause and effect, and close the value gap in the strategy. Okay, and establish the best practices of PMO. It is not just like it's only just doing a projects. Okay, they are good, but connect them to the strategy so that you can use it. I think this is the summary of what I would like to convey, that how that whole strategy and the project management is getting connected. Okay, so then we can talk more about PMO part, how it is done, and then we can talk about more about using systems in tracking and tracing. Yeah, over to you, sir. Any inputs, Mr. Khalid and Nehru?
Actually, very good
just-
strategy you are highlighted.
Yeah. So the balance scorecard and the strategy map are actually really shows the connection, the cause and effect relationship. So if you're trying to achieve an objective, what kind of capabilities the organization must have, what kind of processes it must have, what kind of activities it must do, so and what kind of innovation it must do for its customers. So this is the most logical and most simplest approach that is available in the academia, in the text that is available, and it's not difficult. If you as a discipline adopt balanced scorecard and strategy map in your organization, the chances of success becomes much higher, rather than PowerPoint slides or anything like that. So using available strategy frameworks and strategy execution tools and frameworks actually helps the management and the people who are executing to have clarity and also monitor the progress. So it really helps to have first of all, most of the organizations struggle with having a basic strategy document. So that's the first step. And the second step is the execution part, whereby project management office becomes critical. And in strategy execution, similar to the project management office, they've created Office of Strategy Management, whereby they're actually doing project management, but they are focusing more on strategy. But we'll learn a lot of stories about project management from Nehru now.
I think to project management, which is our topic today. So Nehru, I think you are expert in project management. And actually, I have been project manager for quite a long time. Okay.
Wonderful.
So I'm PMP also.
Right.
So I'm practicing project managers, especially information systems and and also the operational excellence projects, the strategy transformation projects. So, but listening to a mentor, somebody like you, Nehru, it makes a big difference. So, give us some insights on what is the best practices in building a PMO and
Right.
establishing a project management culture in the organization. Okay,
Okay.
and making sure that to deliver the value. Okay,
Right.
so over to you. You can just give a quick
Sure.
briefing. And
Actually,
I
if
think,
you
you have a
It's a
couple of
very
slides, I believe.
wonderful presentation, and the way you structure it is how it's supposed to be practiced. And I've seen some organization really practicing this, but when we go and audit certain organization, there's a huge gap between what was presented just now and what they practice in real. So, for example, it is supposed to be this way: coming up with an organizational strategy, looking at strategic objective, and then making sure all the project guys, the project team, the project manager, making sure they really understand what exactly is the organization is trying to achieve, and then they are supposed to be carrying out that project. But what's happening in a lot of organizations that I see is project managers are hired because, hey, we have a project, please manage this. So the moment they are hired, they just focus on their project. They do not have an awareness like what you mentioned just now. What exactly is the organizational strategy objective? No, they don't, there's no proper handover to the project manager on the organizational vision, mission, what is the strategic objective. There was one time I did one town hall, and in the town hall, we actually asked, the CEO asked, can anyone tell me what is the organization's vision statement? It was quiet because majority of them doesn't even know what is the company's vision, mission. They do not know what's the strategic objective. All I know as a project is I've been hired to carry out this project. So I think that's the gap, biggest gap. I think it should be part of the awareness when they recruit the project manager and the project team. The first thing they should inculcate is the idea of what exactly they are trying to achieve at the highest level, the vision, mission, and the strategic objective. That is what is missing at the moment.
Yeah. So let us let's take it up. Let us say now somebody asked you to establish a PMO. Okay. So how do you recommend? So what is that? What are the steps we need to do to establish a PMO? And also the second thing is now PMO, if you establish as a standalone, it's almost always have a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it has to be aligned with the Office of Strategy Management. You call it different names, by the way.
Yeah.
Office of Strategy Management or Office of Operational Excellence or whatever. But all these things have to work hand in hand. That's most important.
Right.
Because, if you don't do, what happens, you might do a project successful and you may not, you may skip one important project, okay, which you think, okay, now I have done some projects in a nice way, kind of thing. Okay. So that is something which is very important. Sorry. So likewise, establishing a project management office with the proper processes, okay, and also connecting them to the strategy is something which is very, very, very critical. Okay.
That's
so now,
right.
in your experience, okay, so how do you recommend to establish the project management office, Nehruji? Yeah.
All right. So very well said. The PMO itself, the overall purpose of a PMO is to make sure that it's aligned with the organizational goal. But if you look at the industry, what's happening is the PMO are set up to run projects, and which is in one way is a good objective, but it's not aligned with the organizational thing. You see, a lot of people say PMO is actually a pain. The reason is they'll be just coming and auditing us. They'll just be coming and monitoring us. They'll just be looking at, how we are doing project. Actually, they don't really understand the purpose of the objective of the PMO. So, and when the head of PMO, usually they'll just look downwards. Downwards means they'll look at the projects, how is the project is performing. And, so the overall idea is all about supporting the project. That itself is wrong. So a PMO should be reporting to the CEO or the highest level of an organization, because the PMO is supposed to be helping in achieving strategic objective. And the strategic objective, the one who is really passionate about, is the CEO and the senior management. So that is the first thing that we have to keep in mind. The PMO must be supporting upwards, not downwards. Right, so that's the first thing. And if I can share some slide, I can show you what exactly is the framework and the mindset a person should have in aligning the business goals together with the PMO. Let me share that slide, and maybe I'll take 2 or 3 minutes to brief you about this. This is basically the framework. You might be thinking, this is a project management framework or is this a PMO framework? So now one more thing I realize is a lot of PMOs are project management certified, but they're not PMO certified. It's a different breed. I mean, basically you have an MBBS, you call them doctor, and then you have a PMO also calling them doctor, and then there's a confusion now. So can a project manager do PMO or not? It's actually different animal altogether. So if you can see there, the green color is the first thing that you got to do. So a PMO, what they have to do is, they must always ask, whatever the organization came up with in terms of objective, what exactly are those objectives, the strategic objective? Then the next thing they need to come up with, PMO strategy. How do I, as the PMO, how do I achieve those objectives? That's basically is the PMO strategy. Then they look at health check, maturity assessment of the organization, and then they look at the PMO roadmap and then come up with the project charter. Not your project charter, is a PMO charter. This is actually at the highest level. All of this is an engagement with the senior management itself, the green color. Then the one in the yellow or the amber color is actually the implementation. Right, so that's where they develop their documents, implementation, policy-wise procedure, and then they come out with the PMO's KPI in delivering the project. And then looking at the entire project members team, how do you support them, right? And the one on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side are the framework for implementing the PMO. But the crucial part is the one in orange, which is basically talks about PMO leadership. So it doesn't talk about how you deliver the project, but at the end of the day, it all goes back to the number one, which is the green color there. How do you achieve that business objective? So this is the framework of a PMO that is released by the PMO Global Institute. So it's a different game altogether, but here it's not talking about executing a project, but it's all about leadership.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic.
I really like the diagram. I think it actually summarizes the role of PMO, especially on the alignment part. And that's what a good PMO manager has to be in terms of really understanding the business issues and then prioritizing which projects needs to be done so in terms of priority number one, project number two, so on. And with the help of working with the chief executive, but most importantly is also communication part. You need, the organization must understand why we are doing these projects. So, and that's where one of the roles of PMO is also communication, and not only helping execution, but also helping to spread the news that this is the business critical projects that we are going to be undertaking this year and next year. So there's and working very closely with the senior leadership team as well as the chief executive, and also in the quarterly town hall meetings, etc. The PMO must join the team and actually communicate the progress on these strategic projects. So this creates organization-wide awareness, and people are engaged, people are excited, and therefore the organization has got a much better chance of achieving success of these projects. And also they get to know in the town hall, they get to know what are the problems that they are facing in implementing these projects, what are the roadblocks, etc. So it's very important to have a transparency. Otherwise, you end up having surprises at the end of the day. Oh, this project could not be completed. So a regular feedback is critical. So in my previous organization, they used to do a quarterly review of the project, but sometimes the projects are so important that they cannot be left on a quarterly monitor. They have to be a far more, and sometimes when we're launching a new medicine, it became a weekly monitoring as to what was agreed at the last meeting, how have we progressed, because there is a constant race in product launch to be first in the market.
That's true. That's true.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Important.
I like the idea, Mr. Khalid. Actually, I want to expand about what Mr. Khalid mentioned just now about communication. And communication itself takes up huge percentage of their work, right? But on top of that, I might want to add about change management as well.
Right.
Change management is crucial in implementing all of this. And a lot of them doesn't have awareness. And they're just running projects, but they're not looking at overall, holistically, in terms of change management, what is mindset? When you talk about the town hall, you must really engage them. So stakeholder engagement is another huge area that we have to look at as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is, I want to emphasize is when we are looking at strategies, implementing projects in organization and so on, one must realize that it's not a managerial role. It's actually a leadership role. And I mean, managers can just implement things, carrying out the instruction, but it really takes a lot of leadership, a lot of convincing, a lot of inspiring the organization towards achieving that strategy. So that's a different mind game altogether.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. See, the project management office, PMO, actually, they oversee the projects, and actually they support project managers very heavily. What happens is one project manager is so engrossed in his project, sometimes he need help. Okay, and it's not sometimes, it's almost always he need help, especially in procuring enablers. Maybe it could be resources, it could be funds, or it could be the commitment from senior leaders. So it's a big problem for the project manager if he wants to do everything on his own. So he always rely on a project management office, a team to do something which he don't want to do it. Usually project managers will do themselves, but sometimes they want somebody to do those difficult things which he don't want to do it. Like if somebody wants to hire or fire, it's very difficult. Okay, so always take help. So that is very important. PMO role play, especially like accounts receivables, funds collection, or something. Funds, getting funds to the project. So sometimes it's not easy. So PMO sits close to the CEO. So they try to get they lobby and try to get some funds. So that is one important point. The second, Khalid Saab, you mentioned about the feedback. Okay, the performance reviews. Yeah, some people talk about quarterly, some people talk monthly. Usually, in my experience, monthly performance review is more appropriate. Okay, in general. Okay, but sometimes it's a weekly, because as you go, weekly reviews becomes very important when the project is in trouble. Okay, so you need a weekly review. Okay, so to make it, and also the project is at the completion stage. Okay, so at that point, especially, you need to push them to close it. Otherwise, you just miss the deadline, and also you end up in a bad way. Okay, so those things. And I was involved in a project where the project reviews are even daily. Khalid Saab. So Almara is one of the largest dairy company. So they do the demand planning part daily, especially in Ramadan. Okay, so they serve the milk and other products across the kingdom on a daily basis. They plan on a daily basis. Okay, so when we did one project for them, so it's a daily project review. Okay, so that's something that in the everyday morning, they sit and what is your capacities today? What is your demand? What you do and what is the corrective actions? Which markets you want to serve and which you want to control? Because it's that 60 days, the 30 days Ramadan is equivalent to the whole year for them. Okay, in the business side. Okay, so the 30 days Okay, so they have a daily reviews. The rest of the
Right.
periods, they go for a monthly reviews. So it all depends. Okay, so it's very interesting to have a strategy review. Sorry, project management reviews. The frequency is one of the very important thing. Okay, so
So this question to Nehru as to what is the best practice for the PMO, manager PMO, who is he reporting on to?
The PMO manager, I mean, the PMO head itself. So the PMO might have many managers. So the PMO head itself, the best way to do it is for them to report direct to the CEO or the sponsor. But if they are reporting to some functional departments or whatever, it's not strategic. It's very much operational, departmentalized kind of thing. And they will
Right.
lack the power to carry out the strategic initiatives.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because I've seen in practice that most of the projects, because they are somehow relating to manufacturing or something, they are actually reporting onto a supply chain director. And then they're not, although they are of strategic nature. For example, Unilever was doing an ice cream factory, setting up ice cream factory, and huge project. So, but if the project manager is reporting on to supply chain director only, okay, so he's responsible for delivery of that project. But then the finance director, the marketing director, the chief executive, they all want to know as to when the ice cream factory will be meet the summer season or not. So yeah, I find that the proper the power or the influence that is required for the PMO is to be managed by the chief executive office. So it could be as independent, but the reporting line should be to chief executive.
That's right.
sometimes
I had a situation where it's a huge organization where they have a PMO reporting to the CEO. And then there's one large business unit where they have their own PMO. And then IT have their own PMO, right? And then, of course, they asked me, what's the best way? I mean, they said it's because it's very important for IT to have their own PMO. Then I mentioned if there is a conflict between organizational strategy and the IT, who is the one that's going to say, this is the way to go? There's going to be a conflict. It's like going for a war and you have two commanders and you will have a lot of issues there. So there should only be one commander giving the overall direction of the strategies.
Right.
Correct. So usually, in my experience, there is a senior leader who is also called Chief Shared Services Officer. Okay, sometimes he is a very important person to support the PMO and also the strategy management office. Actually, he's like a chief of staff kind of thing. Okay, so he help CEO to execute, but CEO has a direct reporting line from the PMO head to the CEO and also the strategy management officer directly to the CEO. So this is very important. It all depends on the bandwidth of the CEO. So how is the organization? If it is a public organization, so it is different, and it's a private mid-size, it's different. Yeah. So let us take something more detailed. Okay. So let us not talk in general. Let us take type of projects. So that is very important because not all projects are same. So you have a construction projects, you have a manufacturing manufacturing optimization projects, you have supply chain projects, you have strategy execution projects. Okay, you have IT projects. Okay, so let us take the challenges in each type of projects. Okay, so now Khalid Saab, this organizational transformation will have some kind of like a strategy formulation and also like a performance management kind of projects. Okay, so how to structure them? Can you throw a light from your experience? Because
Yes.
strategy, yeah. So that is where then we talk about strategy formulation, strategy translation kind of thing. Then we'll go to more into functional, go into IT, and then construction or manufacturing kind of thing, the capability building kind of thing. And then also maybe the people performance, how those the enabling capabilities are built. Let us take one by one and talk
Right.
about for a few minutes. Okay.
So I'll give an example from the FMCG industry because that's where the action is. And so generally there is an innovation funnel. A lot of new ideas get parked into those funnel, and then there are various gates. So from idea stage to feasibility stage to the launch stage. So so once the funnel is passed, then it becomes a project. And those projects have to be totally aligned with the business unit strategy. For example, I recall that in Unilever when we were working very comfortably, good brands, good market share, good profitability, and suddenly we have a new competitor in the country called Procter and Gamble. Now, now that created a need to focus on a really upspend marketing, advertising, create new brand launches, uh, change the packaging to become more attractive, much more value-added products, so that they become. So the entire organization went through a process of really upskilling, upgrading the products. So the shampoos, the toilet soaps, the washing powders, etc. Every brand went through a brand relaunch process, and it was actively managed and we have to time that before the P&G actually launches their product, we have the product in the market. So these sometimes it's tactical, sometimes they are long term. So for example, entry into the ice cream was a major strategic decision by Unilever Group to invest. That Pakistan has got hot weather, there's a large population base, so there's a good opportunity to sell ice cream. But they got out of the edible oil business because they said they can't really add a lot of value. It's a commodity. So they had a project to sell the edible oil business, and I believe that they did the same in India also. So the business strategy is driving major projects going forward, and then those projects become part of the project management office, whereby they really have to ensure that the budgets are available, the right people are hired for those projects. And for example, ice cream was a totally new business, and we hardly had any technical capability. So we had to send people abroad to secondment, 6 months working in ice cream factory in Turkey, for example, or some other country, and bring those expertise, working with the manufacturers of the equipments, etc. So the idea is that you follow your big strategic plans, and then also some tactical plans. The tactical could be short term, the strategic could be slightly longer term. And so, for example, going into a new market requires a lot of preparation. So if you want to go into Africa, for example, a lot of companies are wanting to go and work in Africa. You need to hire people from the ground. You need to train them. You need to equip them. You need to set up physical structure, etc. So this is all part of the project management.
That's true. That's true. Very nicely explained. Let me give my experience in the strategy formulation, strategy transformation kind of projects. Okay, so especially when you talk about when there is a big opportunity for a company to grow, or when there is a serious problem, the company has to grow or survive or whatever. So there are some different things have to be done in the company usually. So one of the way is the chief executive officer create a strategy task force. Okay, so it creates the task force is created, like maybe 8, 9, 10 people or 12 cross-functional managers, one from each function kind of thing, one from finance, one from supply chain, one from manufacturing, sales and marketing. Of course, they will be there. Okay, HR, and everybody will be there. Of course, not everybody will be involved in doing the strategy formulations day in and day out, but there is a 2-3 people, the CEO and other like chief marketing officer, they do that heavy lifting of strategy formulation kind of thing. But these people, the strategy task force, will be always active or informed in the strategy formulation. When we put them into the task force, I did not really understand why did they kept it in that. Okay, because majority of the time they are just coming and giving some simple inputs, and they're understanding, mostly listening. Okay, so what happened when we come up with a strategy plan? Okay, now this is the time to execute it. So you need to translate strategy and execute it. Now, at the time, because these people are involved in the strategy formulation, they get the ownership of that strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to the strategy execution, now, if you have any projects in HR, if you have any projects in managerial accounting, if you have any projects in manufacturing, so these are the people who become project managers. Okay. Now, then we really understand that these guys go into the projects. Now, since they already work together in a cross-functional team in the strategy task force, they have some common understanding of the strategy. Now, these people try to execute it properly. That's how I was coordinating that strategy task force. Then when I took up, they made me like a vice president for planning and performance. So it was very, very clear way to connect all the projects together and then execute it. Then the result is you achieve what you have planned for. So there is a product called Wafi in Arasco. So it was selling around like a 100,000 tons a year. Okay, that was the quantity. It became like a 2 million tons sales.
Wow.
Okay, so that was like a 10-20x whatever. So we did not really understand, because the whole company sales was 500,000 ton, and 100,000 tons was one product line, and they had a robust strategy. And this one product group, which is the livestock feed, become 2.5 million tons. Okay, and subsequently this have pushed other products also to reach to 1 million. So like it's like a 3 million ton, 4 million ton the business. So which we have seen over a period of just 1 year, 2 years maximum. Okay, so that was fantastic way to connect all the dots and then see the results. And then almost all the people become the senior leaders in the company, and then that's how it is. Okay, now the different challenge is after reaching to that stage, then how you sustain, okay, the leaders, and then how you nurture again multiple layers of this the growth is something which is always a challenge. So that's a bit of my experience as far as the strategy transformation projects are concerned. So anything from you, Nehru, and then we'll talk about IT projects, a typical
Sure.
IT projects problem. Yeah.
Actually, your case study is really admirable, because not many organizations have this kind of success story. The challenge is these are subject matter experts in their own area, right? So they know very well what needs to be done. So they are very passionate about their goals. But here comes the challenge. When they are appointed as the project manager, now comes project management skill. They
Yeah.
are lacking project management skill. The 49 processes, if you follow the PMI's PMBOK, how do you manage risk? How do you manage your schedule and the dependency? All of those is a skill by itself, which the department heads might not have the skills. So there's got to be a balance between them. If they have both, that's the fantastic project. Otherwise, it might be another failed project, because as much as they are good in their goals and missions, but they are not really a good project management guys, which is industry by itself.
That's true. So what we did is at the time is after we want the execution phase, we had a very strong the project management training sessions. Okay, so we put it. So it is not enough. The training is not enough. So we had like a 3, 4 days, 5 days session. So people got the common understanding, and also we put some project management office, the PMO, to support them to complement the skill part of the project management. Okay,
Right.
so that is, of course, it's a trade-off. If somebody is good at the functional side, okay, and if the same guy is good at the project management, you are lucky.
You are lucky.
It will not happen. It will not happen always. Okay. So it's you need to have some kind of 70-30, 40-60 kind of.
Correct.
You need to manage it somehow.
And you can't be 100% project as well. You need to have that business knowledge, the
Knowledge.
functional knowledge as well.
And soft skills. Okay,
Yeah.
one of the soft skills, it all depends. Okay, if you are doing a projects in Middle East, is completely different. If you are doing a projects in India or if you are doing a projects in Europe, so if you are doing projects in Europe or US, you can be very formal. Okay, you set the deadlines. You create start date and end date, milestones, deliverables, and everybody follow. And then all you have to do is you just make sure that you have a nice plan, you give the nice resources, very clear information, and people take responsibilities. When you do it in Middle East, and Middle East, by the way, when you talk about Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Oman, so there are different country people, like Egyptians are there, Sudanese are there, okay, and then Indians are there, Pakistanis are there. So all are different mindset. Okay, they are good in their own way, but it's a different mindsets. Okay, so some people wants to they want to be updated very regularly. If you send an email, they take it, they'll get offended. Okay, now why these people are sending follow-up emails? If you go and tell them very simple way, so that is enough for them. So when I was managing an IT project, a transformation project, so I was a project manager for that in 2006, 2005. I'm talking about. So one of my job is to come to the office at 8 o'clock. 8:30, I finish my coffee and something, and then just walk around and talk to all the senior leaders and then update them.
Right.
Half an hour, 30 minutes. Just stand there in the door, the chief HR officer, 2 minutes. I just gate crashed there. Okay, he said, you came again? No problem, sir. It's only 2 minutes. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Like CFO, all. I try to cover it up. So that helped me to avoid sending emails. Okay.
Yeah.
So and then I just consolidate at the end of the day and send them update. Okay. And also project risks, which is very, 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 very important. If you identify project risks early in the project, or then you have a very high success of the projects. Okay. So identifying the risks and then notifying them itself a big achievement. Okay. So if you identify those risks and inform them that this is a project risk you have, whether it is a scope or it could be a cost or it could be schedule, whatever. So that itself, it will help you. If you don't do that, the scope creep will kill the projects. And after all this experience, I still make mistakes in my projects. Okay. And
I think
that's how the life is all about. Okay. No matter what, yeah.
I think that's a very good practice, Sheikh Saab, management by walking around, or it's a Japanese name called Gemba walk. And I think good PMO should also be doing that, actually visiting the project sites and actually talking to the people on the ground as to what is happening, what are the bottlenecks, is there any project risk, and that will only come about. People don't want to talk about project risks. They feel that it may affect their performance, etc., and they keep quiet. But then, if you go down on the ground and see that the machinery is just lying idle and it's not, for example, installed yet, and you realize that somebody from China needs to come and install the machine, and he hasn't come in yet, so that will delay the project, for example. So I think the PMO person has to be much more visible, and he has to be very good in communication, as Nehru has said. And the other factor that you have also mentioned is the change management, change in the behavior, realizing the customer pain points, for example, as to where is the customer experiencing pain and how can we provide an excellent customer service so that they are delighted and your business grows. I really like your case study whereby you multiplied 20x. That's amazing. I think you should do a separate program to share your practice as to what really.
Sure. Definitely, sir. That we follow a lot. how we do a formal and informal way to do that. It actually, it generated so many leaders. Now, in that team, like a 20, 25, 30 leaders, who are almost all of them are CEOs. Yeah, that's what I have witnessed. Okay, either they are
Wow.
into government or they are into public sector or whatever. You find them very nicely learned. So now everybody have the same kind of the knowledge how the organization transformation take place. So that's very interesting. Okay, that's a very nice way to understand each people. Of course, the credit goes to CEO. Okay, he is a masterpiece. Because the credit goes to him. He has a patience, has a the commitment, and also empathy to the people. So he supports to the people. You don't get lost. Okay, so he knows the value of people. So that's very important at that everywhere. Okay, so now so let us talk about some other kind of projects. Let us talk about Nehru. You talk about. So what kind of projects? Very challenging. Okay, so here we have like some kind of IT projects where I can talk about for a long time. You can talk about the people part, how the people cultural transformations, the people skills enablement. Okay, so this is something nowadays it's becoming one of the major topic for every organization. Okay, maybe before 10, 15, 20 years back, maybe people performance and people enablement was not so important. That was considered as a lost thing. I remember I don't have any problem in saying that. So when you talk about people performance and HR, so that was a lost. Okay, so we talk about strategy, we talk about manufacturing, we talk about supply chain, marketing, and then finally, okay, we talk about HR. Now it is reverse. Okay, so we talk about people first. Okay,
Right.
so then you talk about everything else. So how is that, Nehru? What do you think about how to do those kind of projects in effective way?
Oh, okay, that's a big one. If you look at statistically, I think I'm old enough to talk about this. Before 1980s, if you talk about 60s, if you talk about 70s, the project failure is very minimal, 1%, 2%. When it comes to 1980, according to statistics, is 64% project failure. Right, and then they managed to reduce it, and up to year 2000, it was 25% failure. And last year's statistic, 2023, it went back to 70% failure. All right, so now particularly the IT, all right, now the reason why 1980s, the number of project failure skyrocketed to 64% is because 1980s is the time where the internet was introduced, Microsoft was introduced, and then how do they hire the project managers? I'm one of the case. I'm an IT engineer, and they said, Nehru, I have a project that requires some C language, Java language, and so on. You are free, right? Okay, you become a project manager. I had zero knowledge of project management, but because IT, there's no project managers, right? They just throw me into the sea. Right. So now, year 2023, the number of project failures are back to very high now. I think you can take a guess what happened to the IT now. We are going through the entire transformation again, the AI and, Agile is being there. And again, the project managers are lacking these skills. So, and the other one is like what Mr. Khalid mentioned about change management also. Project managers doesn't have the change management knowledge, right? And how do you engage with people? Now, particularly IT, and I observed this in how many years throughout my career. IT guys are traditionally IT guys, as in they know technology and so on, but they are lacking that people management skill and the communication and the stakeholder engagement skill. So much so when I was working in Disney, the IT projects, they intentionally create one position called business system owner, BSO they call it, so that they can speak the IT language, they can speak the business language, right? Which is a huge gap. But now PMI is saying project managers must be the business people. That means you must understand the business. Don't just talk about your IT technology and all of this stuff. You must know and understand what is the organizational strategies and the business goals. So I think that's the area that I was observing in the industry as well. The people skill is missing in most of the project managers.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting insight, Nehru. That's really a great one. I'll just add one more point. Okay, so I have been into IT systems and IT projects for quite some time. So I've witnessed, I know exactly where the mistake happened. Okay, so usually what happens is when you want to do any digital transformations or any implementation of any systems, what happens is the IT leaders will talk about the requirements gathering. Okay, that's a very important step. That is a very important step for IT people, but for the business people, that is actually they have just started their understanding about the project.
Right.
So here, there are two things will happen. One thing is the business leaders, they are too optimistic, and then they want everything in this. Okay, they don't prioritize. They give all the list of things, whatever they need it, or they don't give the key things. They give or they delegate somebody to give the list requirements. Okay, then what happens is if you don't give the requirement properly and also prioritize them, it's not that you give the requirement and prioritize, because if you give 10 requirements will not be met. I challenge you. No matter how smart you are, how much you do the investment, you will not get in IT projects. The reason is there are so many things, dynamic factors. So you get like 6, 7, 8, you get it. So 1 or 2, you have to compromise. Now, if you do that, so what are the key things you don't want to compromise? What are the nice to have? If you have that differentiation very clearly, and also involve and make sure that the key deliverables, key thing, you identify them and put in the first place. If you don't do, what happens is you complete all the project. Okay, they complete everything except that. Okay, I'll give one example. Okay, I always understand. Now, Khalid Saab, the business used to produce the feeds. Okay, and there is a sales process. So we used to add one line item for each truck, and then we used to add a separate line for the transportation charges. Some plants, they used to write separately, and some plants, they include the pricing into the sales price itself. Now, you tell me, if you have some mix of like this, how do you get the profitability? You will not get the profitability. Now, they are asking profitability by customer, by product. Actually, it was a big problem. You cannot get it because it's mixed up. Okay, so you have some orders, the price is mixed into product, some are not. Then we try to do something else to get that, but that is an exact requirement. You know, if you tell me, guys, I need a profitability by item, by customer, by region. If you tell me exactly, then your all the implementation will follow that. So that is the level of clarity the senior leader should have. Okay, now they might have some report requirement or something, which is nice to have. Even if you don't have, no problem. Just give the IT guys liberty to have some flexibility. So they deliver what you need it, and they have liberty to at least ignore 1 or 2 points. So this is something which is very important, sir. If you don't do that, what happens is you will get everything, you miss that key thing, and then you will do this manually outside the system. So you are not enjoying the IT digital transformation. So that's one of the key learning what I did. Okay, so we have to make sure that the senior leader should involve in the requirements, right? Because again, sir, the requirement for the end user is different, for the middle manager is different, and for the senior leader is different. Senior leaders almost always give requirements to the middle managers. You give. Middle managers ask juniors, and they combine all of them. So finally, when they come out of complete the implementation, the senior leaders ask you reports. Give me these reports. Okay, at that time, it will be very difficult to get. So it is very important to have the requirements blueprinting properly, exactly, and then you compromise nice to have. so that you get the deliverables exactly. So this is my experience in these situations. So IT people, poor people, I can say. Okay, they are sometimes they are some majority of the times they are victims, but they become predators. Okay, because they don't have option. They keep fighting with the functional guys. You don't know the requirements. You don't give kind of something. So to avoid that, the first step, the requirement blueprinting, do it properly, which is something similar to the strategy of the organization. Then all the delivery will follow, especially in the IT projects.
I'd just like to ask Nehru that for project success, the project charter is the most important because it defines the key deliverables. So, for example, the IT nightmare could have been solved better. There was a better project brief, a project charter written out and agreed by all the parties. So, tell us about your experience in managing this project charter.
Okay, actually, wow, I got a lot of stories, horror stories as well. If you look at one project I've done, there was when I took over the project, the charter is 300 pages.
Wow.
Right, so that was one of the horror story. I mean, charter. I mean, this is the first document that he produced in the project, and it's supposed to be even in Disneyland. It's just 1.5 page, right? But it's supposed to be simplified, and the scope is supposed to be again simplified as well. When it comes to documentation of the deliverables and the so-called requirement, it should not be in a language where the users don't understand. It should be simplified, right? And like what Mr. Abdul Kader also mentioned, the requirement is the most crucial part. But there's always a gap between the user side and the IT side. They don't speak that same language. It's like speaking Chinese and like Tamil language, it just doesn't match, right? So that's where when it comes to the requirement, actually it evolved. I used to be like that. I used to be very much emphasized on the requirement. Being an IT guy myself, it must be detailed enough. But the thing is, people from the business side don't understand. So now the agile way of doing project is we don't write the requirement using the IT guy's knowledge, but we call it user stories. User story is a simplified English where, you just tell me, in a business language, these are the things I need. And then there must be somebody who translate this to the IT way or the language. So that might be one way, effective way. So the charter, usually what I use is a simplified user story kind of a concept rather than, really using the project jargons.
Right.
Fantastic, sir. That's very important. Project charter.
Yeah.
And many times the project, they start the project without project charter also. But nowadays, I think they're doing it. Okay. So project charter, one of the most important part of the project charter is the reporting, the risks, and then the interdependency of the projects. Okay. So that I see is very important because if you have the interdependency of the projects to deliver the strategic results, you must pay attention to it. Because if you delay a project and then because of that, another project is not delivering the value. Okay, so you have a problems. So in my experience, there are like 3-4 projects where they were very tightly integrated. Okay, so you have to explore like alternative raw materials exploration, and then the product manufacturing optimization. Because if you are using these alternative raw materials, so your manufacturing optimization should take place to suit this raw material. Okay, so first you need to identify the raw material, alternate raw material as a project. Okay, then you need to optimize your manufacturing. Then you have another project is to optimize the storage for that. This is I'm talking about very heavy quantities like 200,000 tons. 300,000 tons quantities. It's not, and very inflammable, especially the palm kernel cake, which comes from the east, okay, Malaysia, the palm kernel cake, PKC, they import it. Now, if you don't do this in a sequence, there is no use of this project. Okay, so that was very important. So what happened, they did the first 2 projects successfully, and the 3rd project got delayed because they thought, okay, this is a storage project, it's not important. Then we had an accident. So we had an accident because they don't know how to store those products properly. But it was not very big one, so we could manage it. But that is the reason is this project you did not complete it. Okay, so it's a big problem. It became a big problem. Somehow luckily we escaped that, but so that was the reality. So connecting these projects is very, very important. If you don't do that and think about only your project, you may lose the big picture. Yeah. So yeah, so that is something which is very interesting. There are like plant expansion projects where there are so many things like manufacturing capacity expansions. This is a completely different ballgame altogether. Almost always these projects get delayed. Almost always, at least in my experience here in this part of the world. Very rarely some well-organized multinationals, they execute on time. Okay, so we have one project in our place, Kia Motors. So they delivered the project on time, and then they achieved that. Okay, so the project, the plant near to where I am sitting, 50 kilometers, that plant is serving the whole country, the Kia vehicles. Okay, it was so successful. So these Koreans, yeah, they did it. Okay, so they are very experts in doing that also. Such kind of program execution is very crucial for this. Yeah. So any more thoughts on the skills part, and then the skill enablement for the projects? What kind of skills is required? How to attract the people to choose project management as a profession? And how can we make sure that they really understand strategy? Okay, so in our project management certifications, PMP and all, that still that functional part still is there. The hook is not proper, very strong. Okay, so the defined phase of the project, still that is a very high. There is an open point. Okay, so it is still how to connect to the strategy is something is not so good. Okay, so what do you think? What is your advice, Nehru, for the practitioners?
Okay,
Right.
when we are talking about skills that's required for project managers, for those who are trying to make project management as their career or something in future, right? 2 things that comes into my mind. Number one is you should not think project management as a profession or as an industry by itself, because everyone is already a project manager. Talking about your daughter's wedding, your son's wedding, the wedding is a project. It has a deadline. It has, you got to already plan for it. Your son or daughter's birthday is a project. Graduation is a project. Convocation is a project. Planting tree is a project. So throughout our life, we've been doing project without we knowing it. So we just have to formalize that part only. But we have been practicing project management without we knowing it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you're talking about strategy perspective, it's like this. It reminds me of what I asked my daughter when she was just about 5-year-old. The typical father's question: when you grow up, what would you like to be? Doctor or what kind of thing, right? That is actually a strategy plan. So if you look at it from a project perspective, that's why the senior management is doing. What are we going through in the next 5 years, 10 years for our organization? So it's a chart. So the moment a project manager is, the moment we fit into the organization, the first thing that we want to feed them is, where would you be in 5, 10 years time, as in, as an organization? So, and most of project managers, they don't get that information. All they do is, just do this project and you're getting salary kind of thing. So it must be holistic when it comes to that approach.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you nicely touch that you can be a functional guy, and then project management is more like an enabling skill. So it's a requirement. I think it's not an option now. So project
Yeah.
management is mandatory for every manager. Okay, just like every manager should have a financial knowledge and people skills. So project management is a mandatory. What do you think, Khalid Saab?
Absolutely. So any change management that you're going to be bringing in the organization requires a lot of set of activities, especially starting with communication cascade. So even the strategy has to be communicated across the organization, and there are different levels of people in the organization, and you have to tailor those communication based on their acumen. But it is so important that if you want your strategy to be executed successfully across the organization, you have to communicate and you have to reinforce communication. And there are various ways and means of this communication. The chief executive actually takes the lead, and in a quarterly town hall, etc., shares the new strategy. The HR people then hold focus groups, a smaller group discussion, and explaining the strategy. Then within the departments, these strategy have to be discussed, and how each department is going to be contributing towards achieving those strategic objectives. So I can recall that in my Novartis days, we had a global 5 to 7 strategic priorities communicated to all the countries, 120 countries, for example. And then these 5 to 7 strategic priorities were actually built into everyone's personal objectives for that year. And the first two were, because it's a innovative pharma company, the new launches, new global launches of the new medicine, very high-tech medicines, became part of everyone's launch, although they may not be directly engaged in that product launch, but then they have to support that product launch. So the supply chain people will ensure that the product is available. The HR people will ensure that the right people are available to sell those products and detail. The medical people will be training the doctors into using that product. So there is a huge project management involved in any major event, corporate event that is going to take place. And these can include, as you mentioned, setting up a new factory, going to a new country, or launching a new product. These are all huge project management exercises. And as any function head or as business head, you are actually participating in the strategy formulation. And there you are made aware of the key projects that are going to be undertaken in this year and for next 2-3 years, because that's part of the strategy. So I believe that the strategy exercise itself generates the key projects for the organization, and then these projects needs to be managed professionally in a very professional manner, hopefully by PMI, project PMP, or people who are expert in those skills to manage the execution. But you can't delegate the entire responsibility to a PMO. The responsibility of project execution actually lies with the parent, with the owner, and not the PMO office. PMO office is there to coordinate with you, to help you, to guide you the best practices, and also inform you of the key risks that he feels that the projects may get delayed because of such and such factors, or the interdependencies, etc., are not working.
Fantastic. Yep. So any more points, Mr. Nehru, from project management point of view and the PMO point of view, so that we go to the next last 15-20 minutes. We talk about questions. Maybe I'll just show some system from my side, and then we'll just talk about the key takeaways for today's session. So please give some insights on the project management from your side. It could be a PMO,
Sure.
portfolio, program, whatever. Yeah.
Right, sure. I think those who are keen to become a project manager, effective project manager, I think I can highlight what kind of skills they should invest in. And I think since we are already on this topic, a number one skill is, of course, the strategic alignment. Right, got to have that skill by itself. Number two, I think if I go in sequence, will be leadership skill, not managerial skill. It's PMO, and if you are talking about strategic project, it's always about leadership, not so much of carrying out things. Third one, like Mr. Khalid mentioned, was communication. Huge part of your life will be in communication. So that is one area we got to sharpen. And I think related to that is project is a problem. So therefore, problem solving skill is another area we got to sharpen. And quite a number of other skills as well. For example, influencing skill. Influencing your strategy, your PMO strategy, your project strategy. In fact, the organizational strategy, all of this, all the ideas that you have needs to be presented to the senior management, and they need to be convinced. So therefore, the influencing skill is another area that they got to look at. Anything you want to add, Mr. Khalid, in terms of skills?
Yeah, I think business acumen and also customer insight as to what is the customer experience, the customer pain points. And it's very important for project management people actually to visit the key customers and see how they are experiencing our service. And this was a great practice at Unilever and Novartis, that everyone in the organization would actually go and visit the customers, even though they might be in finance or HR, and they're actually visiting the doctors sometimes, and even the Kiryana shop, and for Unilever, I used they arranged. So and that's when you will appreciate the customer pain points. You'll be able to get ideas to how to better serve the customers. So business acumen and also industry knowledge is very critical. That the pharma industry, what are they doing? The steel industry, what are they doing? Telecom industry. So industry knowledge is also critical. And the HR people or the communication department within the organization should actually help cascade these kind of information in the organization. So the newsletter that used to go out to all the employees, telling them as to what's happening in the company and sometimes outside the company, it's very useful because. And lastly. Learning and development has to be a continuous basis. So new technologies that are coming in, the artificial intelligence, the ChatGPTs, how people what are the business case for these very powerful tools that have increased the productivity. I would say sometimes, yesterday I went to a meeting and he said that my productivity has multiplied 20 times because I'm using the ChatGPT, etc. He's into consulting, and I totally agree. I also use it a lot. So the world is changing. The information is the key. The data is the key, and automation opportunities are there. And now we need to actually communicate and collaborate a lot more. So the PMO office needs to be actually collaborating, and they need to be seen as a much more helpful team, trying to solve the problems, identify the problems, etc. So they should see them as a partner and not as as an inspector or an auditor. I think it's a very great role. I think PMO experience actually helps make people become leaders, future leaders, because they are actually solving a lot of problems.
Yeah. That's true, sir. Both are very nicely compiled. So actually, the future leaders, the project managers, okay. So if you have a decent industry know-how, and then you have a project management skills, then you had an opportunity to work in a project, and the project becomes successful. You are very likely to become a senior leader in the company. Very likely. Yeah. Okay, very likely. That's how I got promoted.
Right.
And I have seen so many people got promoted like that. So if you have the combination of these, those are the very valuable people for any organization. So those who are aspiring project managers, so make sure that you give enough insights to the functional knowledge of the topic. Okay, so don't just think that project scheduling, charter, and the mechanism of project management is my job, and forget about other things. No, you spend enough time on understanding the functional topics. For example, if you are doing any manufacturing excellence project as a project manager, understand manufacturing excellence. It's not a rocket science. You can understand it. You can understand Six Sigma or whatever. It's not a rocket science. If you understand this and you understand project management, you become a general manager for or a deputy general manager for manufacturing or whatever. So there is a very likely possibility. So there is a requirement for such multi-skilled resources. Okay, so there is always an opportunity for the people. So that's and then you can choose to stay there or stay here or whatever. But at least you have multiple opportunities. So that's what I have experienced and have seen so many people do like that. Those who don't do that, they are also good, but they limit themselves to one domain like project management. And so people will see you as only related to the projects. Okay, so after one point of time, you will not have regularly everyday projects. Okay, after some time, you have to live with something else. Okay, at that point, you will have a big problem. In that case, if you don't build that skills. So that is my takeaway for you guys. Okay.
So it's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balance between hard skills like technical skills and soft skills. And soft skills are becoming more important these days. The emotional intelligence that you must show, the communication part, the influencing part. So these are very important soft skills which are actually not taught, and they are actually learned on the job. But coaching and mentoring by a senior person who's gone through those project management experience, those are more important than the technical skills. So I would say that people management is an art, but it's also a discipline that needs to be followed through.
Perfect, sir. Yeah. So
just to add to Mr. Abdul Kader's point about just to excite everyone about project management in terms of career, while it's very fulfilling if you are going to the senior level, there is a survey done by PMI as well, saying that project managers are one of the highest paid in every single country. And they've done a survey in every single country, and they actually ranked project managers as the third highest salary. First one is the C-level. The second one is data scientists. The third one, actually, the project people, project managers and so on. So I'll put it in the chat. I just downloaded the link from PMI. There is a PDF file that talks about survey done in every single country, including Pakistan, Malaysia, and everywhere, where they mention in that particular country how much potential salary you can actually earn. So that's it's good. Just for information, just to excite everyone.
Excellent.
Very good.
Yeah. That's excellent.
I just want to give one more example. At Unilever, all future leaders were actually given strategic projects to lead. So that tested their resilience and their quality as a leader. So and once on successful execution of those projects, they would become business unit heads or business directors, etc. So it's a very good training opportunity for future leaders.
Yeah. Perfect. So that's fantastic. I think we have 15 more minutes maybe. Okay, so I'll take this as an opportunity to show some 3-4 minute solution. Okay, with your permission. Okay, so let me just share my screen and showcase. Where is that? Okay. So if you are able to see the screen, so this is the FRU strategy, which we talk about strategy management solution. Okay. So here we talk about strategy analysis, balance scorecard, initiative project management. Okay. So to answer one of the questions, so you have your strategies translated through balance scorecard. So you do the strategy formulation. We are adding strategy analysis and formulation here. And then we have like initiative management. I just want to show something. So initiatives, like basically, it's a project charter. So if you have a project charter, very simple template, so you can define your initiatives. Okay, so what is the project? What is the name of the project? What is the budget? So what is the reporting frequencies? What is the project issues and risks? Okay, so all those project charter related things, you can maintain them against each project, which is linked to the strategy. So this is how this is linked to the strategy. Okay, so the moment you link the projects to the strategy, so you can see it. So you can also create like a project schedules and milestones and tasks. So that so project activities which has a start and end date, and milestones which has like a end date with a deliverable. So you can create a complete project management template with that. Then you have, if you see this, so this gives us like a alignment. So these are all the strategic objectives. These are all the strategic objectives, and then these are the strategic projects. Now, if you see this matrix, so which objective, which project is supporting which strategic objectives? If your project is not supporting any of your project strategy goals, that means this project you need to evaluate whether is it really required or not, kind of thing. Okay, so likewise, you can define all the initiatives. The moment you link this to the strategy, I'll show you one sample strategy map. Okay, so how it looks like. Okay. So if you link those projects to the strategy, what happens is you have a strategy map like this. For example, you have a grow revenues as a strategic objective. Click on it. So likewise, you can see the KPIs connected, the initiatives connected. Okay. So now, if you double click on this initiatives, so you can see what is the project status, which is adding directly, kind of thing. Okay. So likewise, you can see the complete project story. This is initiative story or the project story, what we call. So this is updated by project manager on a month-on-month basis based on the reporting cycle. Okay, so they can update, they can give the notes, they can give recommended actions. Okay, and then they can talk about the budget, actual expenditures. It may also come from any other ERP system, kind of thing. So what are the linked objectives, linked measures? Okay, so the issues. So if you have any project risks, so you can connect them. If you, the value gap closure, how it is closing the strategy gaps. And then you have activities and milestones, the status reporting. And then you have the Gantt chart. Okay, so this Gantt chart could be a weekly, monthly, quarterly. So whatever frequency you want to monitor, all your project tasks can be monitored. And then you can also upload any files. So likewise, so you can have, and then if you want to communicate for this project, so you have a communication tool. So you can directly send a messages to any one of the people who are directly connected to this project or any other thing. So from this, what happens is you get that the email will be sent to them. You don't have to remember. It is there as a reminder. So they will get a hyperlink. So they need to update the status. The moment they update the status, it will get closed here. Likewise. So this is one way to manage the project management through Flow strategy. And we have like enterprise PMO where you define portfolios, you define programs, take care of the change management, kind of thing. So, and this in the organizational performance, you can see that overall initiative performance, the portfolio performance program. I'll just show you one here. So when you go to initiatives, okay, so if you select particular balance scorecard, so if I say, so this is the 60%, the performance. Okay, so these are all initiatives. So the project performance, cost performance, and schedule performance. So you can see it. So weighted average, you can get like that. So this is how the whole the strategy is connected to the project management. And one more point is in the dashboarding. So you can, if you see the initiative dashboard, for example, initiative performance. Okay, so so if you have all the projects, So you can see which projects you are talking about. So what is the initiative performance, the schedule and cost performances? Then what is the project performance? And then what is your plan versus actuals? Blah, blah, blah. So all the things will get automatically updated. So this is not only for the projects. This is for the projects, for the business processes, for the budgets. Okay, so for people performance. Okay, so everything is connected to the strategy. So that's what we talk about the people, the FRU strategy here. I think it's a very quick briefing about the FRU strategy, what we talk about. Okay, and then we have like an Office of Strategy Management. From here, you can execute your strategies. So in this, in the strategy execution part, initiatives and PMO. So you can send basically what you can send the reminders for all the project managers to update their status. So these are all the projects. This is the status. So you can send reminders for them to update it. Okay. And then if you want to see this project also, you can just double click on it. So it will open it. So something like that. So these all things together, it will help to manage your PMO, to manage your Office of Strategy Management, people performance, and then the complete strategy execution. I think this is a very quick navigation to give an idea about the FRU strategy, sir.
I think it's very powerful to have everything in one platform, the strategy and the project management.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting, and people and performance management. So it's very powerful.
Yeah.
So very quick. So those who wants to know more, I think we can share more information and more details. I think that's the idea now. So we have few more minutes left to just conclude. So let us take up some questions here. So Enosh has a question. How do you ensure PMO governance aligns with the organization strategy? I think that's what we talk about today. So Khalid Saab, you want to answer this?
Sure. Of course. So the projects that you are actually allocating to the PMO office actually are generated from the strategy. So it is important that the projects that is managed by PMO is actually coming from, if there is one, Office of Strategy Management, or otherwise the strategy document itself. The strategy document itself will actually list down 5 to 7 key projects that needs to be completed. And that document has to be given to the PMO office, and they should focus on those projects. So I think that will create that alignment. And also by engaging the PMO officer into the strategy discussion and strategy communication would actually ensure that it is well aligned.
Correct. So just to add one more point to Khalid Saab, you covered it. So if you have a nice strategy document, which has explicitly, very clearly highlighted what is strategic goals you want to achieve in a time-phased manner, what are the high-level projects you want to do to deliver those strategic results. So give them as a high-level plan, okay, and then make this plan, this document live. It's not that you give it and forget about it. If there is any change in your priority or strategies, you update it and make sure that the PMO officer understands this. Everybody understands this. So this way, they can quickly, even if there is any misalignment kind of thing, they can quickly readjust and then fix it, because they are smart people. The PMO people are very smart. So all they do is adjustment, okay? Because the project schedules, the people, time, cost, they are very good in aligning, provided you give them the right inputs. If you don't give the right inputs, and then don't blame PMO, because they will not be in a position to see the strategy. It's a business leader's role to make sure that PMO has the right input, and make sure that you empower PMO leaders to come back to them if they have any confusion or any doubts. Don't block them. So empower them to have a patience to explain to them so that they understand what it is. Yeah. So I think we are close, another 5-10 minutes maximum. So any closing thoughts, Nehru?
Yeah, so good points highlighted just now. I just want to add the PMOs, if you are part of the PMO, one thing very important is do not look at it traditionally. Your job is to support projects. downwards. But PMO's real role is actually to support upwards to this organization.
Mhm.
So you need to really align with the organizational strategy, and then comes downwards to the projects. So that should be the proper way. Instead of just managing projects, we should be aligning it with the strategic objectives.
Perfect. Perfect. So, yeah, Khalid Saab, any final thoughts? So we are
Actually,
we have 5 more minutes. So just let us conclusion. Then, yeah. Mhm.
I think we had very good discussions today, very important discussions, because one part is strategy formulation, but the more important part is strategy execution. And that's where the Office of Strategy Management and the PMO office comes in very, very important. So they say that the success of strategy is actually totally dependent upon the execution. And you have to work focus. The entire organization has to be aligned and focused on delivering that strategy, and the tool for that is project management. So I'd like to congratulate you to hold this discussion forum, very important discussion forum. And I think we need to teach both strategy and project management across the organization as a key skill. Thank you.
Fantastic, sir. So, yeah, Nehru, final thoughts before we
Final
conclude?
thoughts. Yeah, this is an amazing discussion today. I was really appreciative of Mr. Khalid as well for your wisdom. It was beyond my expectation, all the ideas that you have shared. And thank you, Mr. Abdul Qadir, for organizing this. First time, I'm part of this, but a lot of good insight. I hope everyone benefits from this as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Now, I just would like to say one thing that as Mr. Khalid said, the strategy execution is 98% important. Strategy formulation is 2%. Okay, as any literature says. So strategy execution will happen through projects.
Yeah.
Period. Strategy execution happens through projects. So projects, if you do it properly, your strategy gets executed. As simple as that. So project managers are really strategy execution ambassadors. So this is very important for organizational leaders who understands the role of project managers, and then project managers themselves, that what is the value they are creating to the organization, and for the entire business, the community of the project management and the business management people. So having said this is one of the most important topic. And I think we touch very nicely, and then Mr. Nehru has given very nice insights on the project management, and with his vast experience in promoting project management and PMO. So I'm very happy to hear Mr. Nehru, and of course Mr. Khalid has an international exposure, and he has witnessed so many transformations across the globe, which includes Unilever, the Novartis, and other things. So it's an amazing discussion. So I take this as a proud moment for me to congratulate both of you and the participants, the organizers. And then what we do is we keep doing such programs, and then we bring such know-how, insights, which you will never learn in any textbook or something, to the audience. If you take one single takeaway, that may change your